Welcome to the show. This is the Willpower Podcast, hosted by Will Holdren. Each week, we sit down with the brightest entrepreneurial minds and uncover the real secrets behind their success. And if you want every episode in one place, plus exclusive insights and updates, head to willpowerpodcast.org and join the email list. If you're ready to take that next step and unlock your next breakthrough, you're in the right place. Now, let's get to the show.
How are we doing, everyone? My name is Will Holdren. I am the host of the Willpower Podcast. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, the legendary Mr. Rick Segal, and our featured guest today is Arti Finn, and Arti is a trailblazer. She's a passionate advocate for social injustice and education. She co-founded Orijin back in 2014 with the goal of creating living wage employment for individuals that are affected by the justice system. She really helps people break out of the cycle of incarceration as well. And really, they have revolutionized the edtech landscape in the correctional environments, and they provide programming in hundreds of facilities across 18 states, which is absolutely incredible. So it's Arti. With that being said, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. And by the way, we're now up to 21 states.
21 states. I'll look at that updated. That's amazing. Congratulations. The growth
Thank you.
continues. But starting out, I want to ask you a question that we ask all of our guests, which is what makes you want to take time out of your busy day to hop on podcasts like these to go out and share your story?
For me, it's about helping other people create businesses that help bring about change in the world that's much needed. I mean, that's how I started, is thinking about a marketplace I knew nothing about, corrections, and taking what I knew about education and seeing if we could apply it. And I think if I can help other people think that way and create businesses that create value in the world, do well and do good at the same time, that's what I want to do.
That's amazing. I love that. It's a common theme on this podcast as well, as how do we create businesses that create real impact in real communities? So it's exactly what you're doing. So walk us through, how did you end up getting into the edtech space to begin with, and more specifically going towards the correctional facilities and going down that route?
So I grew up in a family of educators. And like Rick, who, his mother was his inspiration, my inspiration was my father, who was really trying to change the world of education. And then when we landed on corrections, it was really about how do we create a value for folks that have really been forgotten by the world of education. When we went into corrections, there was nothing. If you had access to a classroom, you were lucky. One stat that always stays with me is if you're incarcerated in this country, you have a 17% chance of getting access to programming.
Wow.
And so we're warehousing 83% of the folks that we incarcerate. And the other 17% may or may not get access to programming that they really need.
Wow.
And when you combine that with the fact that in 2012, the GED, or the high school equivalency market, really announced they were going all digital. And at that time, corrections had no access to digital technology. That's what really led us down this road.
That's amazing.
Arti, can you comment on the relationship between access to education and recidivism?
Yeah. I think the one thing that changes outcomes for folks is access to high quality programming that allows them to get high quality employment. And when you combine those two things, which corrections had really never done in a scaled or significant way, there may have been pockets of great teachers, the outcomes are terrible. You are more likely to return to prison. I think when we first started in this industry, the average recidivism rate within 3 years was 55%. And if you were out for 5 years, your likelihood to return increased to like 80%.
Wow.
So it's really the only equalizer, and this goes beyond corrections, is education. and high quality education that helps you get high quality employment.
Yeah. Why do you think there was such a gap in the correctional facilities? About, you said only 17% of them could even have access to programming. Why do you think there's such a gap there that we had in our society?
Well, we had it because when correctional facilities were built, they were never built as rehabilitational centers. Then programming depended on pen and paper and access to a teacher, which was very low quality, low amounts of teachers. And then you think about the people that we incarcerate in this country. When I talk to people, the majority of them don't even have a high school diploma. So we're incarcerating people who already don't have access, didn't get quality programming while they were incarcerated. My dad always said to me, he's like, I think of corrections and folks who are incarcerated as the people the education world left behind.
Mm, yeah, it's a very
I
good
think
point.
that adds, Artie, to the challenge you have, because these are people who the education system already failed. They're
Correct.
designed,
Correct.
their DNA is not to succeed in a normalized system.
But you fast forward now, Rick, to the people we serve, and technology is actually the great equalizer, but it's also the confidence builder. So when I talk to folks who are incarcerated that get access to our technology, almost all of them tell me I didn't think I could do it. And then I tried and I was successful at this one little thing I tried. And I thought, oh, well, if I can do that, I could probably do the next thing. And success builds on success. And so for us, it's about how do we get people who are maybe not motivated into trying something, being successful, and then pulling them all the way through.
Yeah.
Artie, I know, obviously, because I know you, but the idea of technology in a prison system post 9/11 created an unbelievable barrier. I think maybe you should talk about, how you attack that system.
Well, I need to first mention that when we thought about doing pilots in correctional facilities, and we talked to investors, one of the things that almost all of them said to us was, "You're insane. This will not work, but I love this idea. So I'm going to give you money that I'm pretty sure I'm going to be throwing away." Um, so there's that. And then when you talk to corrections officials, we thought this is never going to work because they don't allow technology. And technology was what they considered the pathway to contacting former victims, perpetuating crime. And so the only thing we thought about for the first 2 years of our business was bringing technology in that corrections officials could believe was safe. And the one line we always used with them, because my co-founder was always able to do the technology side of things, and he got a partnership with Verizon. And Verizon helped us build a tunnel that they had built for Homeland Security. And so we knew it was a secure private tunnel, so no internet access was going to be penetrated. Um, and when we were able to say that to corrections officials, some of them were said to us, okay, I'll try it. I'll try it with a small population and we'll see what you can do. And the moment we could prove to them it was secure, that's when the world started to open up to us. And then when you take, when we were deployed in a tiny little juvenile facility in Kansas, and you can bring the San Francisco jails to canvas and show them that the juveniles are using the technology and it's not being exploited, you kind of open up the world.
Yeah.
But security, that was the one thing. And we didn't know anything about corrections, but we knew it had to be secure.
What does your technology look like? I mean, is it like an iPad that they're holding in their hands and using? Like, do you have any issues with them turning that into weapons or something? Or
Oh, when somebody has a lot of time on their hands,
Yes.
They can find any way to exploit anything. What you have to do is, because nothing is impenetrable, but we have secure tablets. They are of large enough size, so in this case, 10 inches, to support educational programming. They are surrounded by a very secure case that, at some point someone will find a way through, but you have to be one step ahead of that, right? You have to go, okay, we learned from this mistake. We're now going to adapt and make a change. So it's constantly being ahead of what the safety and security things that someone's going to find and exploit. And to this day, we are deployed in, for example, the correctional system in Massachusetts, where our secure tablets are with people 24/7. They charge them in their cells. And this isn't just minimum and medium security, this is maximum security too.
Wow.
So I think it's about being ahead of and being responsive to what happens in your marketplace. And the biggest thing we hear from corrections officials is, as long as you can respond quickly to my problems, I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah. Have you had any issues yet pop up? Um,
There are always issues.
yeah.
I can't say that, there's no company, I will never believe that a company that serves the correctional officials does, and the corrections industry is perfectly safe and secure. The answer to that is never.
Yeah.
There's always going to be issues. It's how do you respond to them? How quickly do you respond? And how fast can you learn from that?
Yeah.
One of the things that has always interested me, and I'll compare this to when I was, chairing the board of Right Country Day, and we brought in laptops for seventh graders. This is many, many years ago. And there was so much pushback because nobody thought you could trust a seventh grader with a tablet. The same thing happens when and of course there were no incidents because it was the most valuable thing they had. And
Correct.
it equates to the privilege of having that access. And in
Yeah.
fact, yeah,
Yep.
talk about how this also creates a better environment in the prison because you reduce violence significantly.
Correct. So there's two things, Rick, you made a very good point, which is once people realize this is designed to support and help them, our business model has always been never charge the incarcerated folks or their friends and family. So once they realize they've been given a device that is designed to help them be successful, it's a totally different thing. We actually have much lower incidences of security. Now, there's always going to be something. The second point is, and I think this is where Rick was going, is our data shows that prior to us going in, safety and security incidences are at whatever level. After we go in, and some of our jurisdictions have actually done the research, violence rates drop by 29% or more inside the worst, like the maximum security, most dangerous offenders, because they realize, oh, this is something that's designed to help me. And it's actually I'm not being charged for it. I can benefit from this. And our devices have a variety of content. Yes, it's designed for education, rehabilitation, employment, but there's also pieces that they can engage with that if you're not interested in that, you can get motivated. We have Chris Wilson, who's formerly incarcerated. He has the master plan on there that even if you can't read, it can be read to you. So there's all sorts of ways to engage with our content that isn't going to be exploitative or bad for you.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that surprising because if you look at the whole world of education, public schools, etc., the biggest thing you can do to create, peace in the kingdom is create after-school programming. Anyone who is bored,
Correct.
is a problem waiting to happen.
Exactly. And you talk to any corrections official and they say boredom is the single most dangerous thing inside a correctional facility.
Right, right. So walk me through a little bit about the programs. What do the programs help the prisoners kind of accomplish? Is it getting like a high school diploma? Is it getting, a specific trade, qualification going on? Because even though, they're doing this education, I think most of the people that have a criminal record, it'd be hard for them to get a normal 9 to 5 job just because of that standalone point right there. So kind of walking through the programs that these guys are going
Yes.
through.
So our programming covers everything from how do I learn to read all the way through post-secondary,
Okay.
and everything in between. You can get a full high school diploma, but you can also get a high school equivalency. The other area we focus on, because we know if you're involved with a system, you also need to start to fix your inner self. And so there's a lot of rehabilitative programming, and the cornerstone of which in corrections is cognitive behavioral therapy. So there's that, plus there's mental health supports, addiction supports, anything sort of in that genre. And that's something an individual can engage with on their own, but it can also be facility supported. And I should also mention that's true of the education too. You can do it on your own, but the facility can also support you if they have staff. The third area is what you were getting at, which is the vocational hard skills training.
Yeah.
And if you have a felony, there's certain vocations you just are not going to be able to get a job in. So we focus in 3 areas: IT, manufacturing, and service industries. And all of those, the full training is available to you. And then the fourth area, which is what we hear from employers they care the most about, is the soft skills. Can this person communicate in the workplace? Do they know the soft skills they need? Are they learning those? The enduring skills. Do they know how to manage their paycheck? So the financial literacy piece, the digital literacy piece. They may have never seen a piece of a computer. Do they know how to manage all of that stuff? So those are key. And then recently we acquired a company called Honest Jobs, which actually helps us complete the full circle. So not only do they have jobs that are filtered for different types of felonies, they also have a whole reentry support so that when you leave, you are fully prepared to get employment. And if the jurisdiction allows, you can even apply prior to release.
Okay.
So we're very excited about that piece because almost every DOC I've spoken to or jail wants that whole picture, and they want people to at least be able to look at jobs, figure out where they're returning to. Do they have, some of the basic things we're seeing is if you don't even have an ID, you can't apply for a job.
Mm.
So let's identify what those barriers are and solve that even prior to someone leaving.
Arti, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the economics and what you need to do to get your program in the system, as opposed to what the other companies that you compete with do to get their programs
Yeah.
in.
Rick, so you're bringing up something that's actually very interesting, and it takes a lot of willpower for both investors, but
That was
also
a plug, right?
that
That's
was
good.
that was a plug.
Very well done.
For folks to understand, like, so their operational devices that go inside, their tablets that now go inside to correctional facilities, those are free to the incarcerated, but anything you do on them is charged. So you can pay for phone calls, commissary. You sometimes even have to pay to read content on there. And the education, while it may be free, you may be charged time for spending on that device. So that's the model that goes into most correctional facilities. Orijin's model, and I mentioned this before, is we don't charge incarcerated folks or their friends and family. So who pays for our solution is the jurisdictions themselves. So you have to pay us to get access because we provide high quality programming, some of which is ours, but some of which we pay for. So you need to cover that cost, plus the cost of the device itself, the connectivity, and the safety and security. All of that has to be paid for. And so we ask for an investment from our jurisdictions in a way that almost nobody else in this industry does.
But
And
it's a little, even more painful than that because a lot of the providers do a profit share with the institution, and therefore they're offsetting costs rather than incurring costs.
that's correct. That's correct. But when you look at jurisdictions, so for example, we have a small jail in the middle of Indiana, 250 bed jail. That sheriff, when we went in, told us his recidivism rate was 70%. That was 3.5 years ago. He decided he was a lock them up, throw away the key, and then he kept seeing the same people over and over again. He said, I got to do something different. He met me and he said, you know what? I'm going to invest in programming. I'm not just going to invest in Orijin. I'm going to invest in a person to do programming, and I'm going to invest in in-person classes. The three things combined, Orijin plus those other two areas, fast forward 3.5 years, he has saved the county over $11 million. His recidivism rate is 14%.
Wow.
And the folks that don't return come back to that institution to mentor the other folks that are still incarcerated.
Wow. That's
That is
remarkable.
incredible.
Yeah. That is really, really remarkable. And I do feel like that old fashioned way, like you were talking with your competitors, how they're raising capital is it's not technically, it's not fair if the people that are incarcerated, they're not making a ton of money just being in
They
that
don't
jail.
make any money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know who pays for that stuff is actually their mothers, their grandmothers, their girlfriends, their wives, who
Yeah.
have to then pay to support somebody who's incarcerated so they can make a phone call or they can buy commissary. Plus, they're, trying to keep their own families afloat. So really, you're thinking about charging people who have the least amount of resources, the most amount.
Yeah. That's a
And what tends to happen, Will, is that families, particularly with a long-term incarceration, they just cut off the correspondence, the relationship, all of that, leaving those incarcerated individuals when they get out to not have a support system to return to.
Right. And that's a
Arti,
key part of rehabilitation is that
you
communication.
alluded to, and I know we've spent a lot of time, but you alluded to how you were raising money originally. And I'd love for you just to talk about that journey because, for a lot of people, they don't know how to raise money, and they especially don't, know how to get an individual to buy into their story. And you have been successful doing that. I'd love for you to talk about that.
I think there's two key pieces of what we did that I think every entrepreneur should think about is one, I am famous within my own company for never taking no for an answer, whether that's from an investor or a customer. There's always a way around no. I hear no and I hear not right now, or I need to understand what that no is about. And as an entrepreneur, you can never take no. Now, some people said to us, I just don't invest in corrections. Okay, fine. Let's move on to somebody else. But don't take no and think, oh, this isn't a viable business. The second thing that I think about when I'm raising money is what is it that the investor is trying to get out? So many people said to us, I am throwing my money away with you, but I'm okay with that. And you have to take that information and go, I need to prove to this person that they're actually not going to be throwing their money away. And so that just motivated us even more. And I think the third thing that I learned in this whole investing thing, which I am not an expert in any way, is use your contacts. So we didn't know anything about corrections, and B, I didn't think anyone in my network knew anything about corrections or was interested in that. And once we started getting interest from one investor, they opened their network up to other friends of theirs. And that's really what you need to do, is you need to find those rich veins that you can then explore further. And, I feel to this day, I won't name names, but there's a famous investor who's invested in us that everyone will know the name of. And that was through someone that we had met through a friend of my family's. And it was just like, hey, would you take money from this person? Because they love this idea too. Also, I learned something from Rick that I want to talk about, which is you also have to find the investors that are willing to be patient. So don't just find the ones that are willing to give you money. Find the ones that are willing to be patient and give you their time and their advice. That is always key. And if you can find those, you'll have we're still around 14 years later.
Yeah, and still growing. But I think that's all really great advice, especially for people listening that, want to start raising capital for their own company to really take it to that next level, that next tier. And they really do struggle with that. And so you kind of laid that out perfectly.
Well, I would also say, we've said, I think 2 or 3 times now, we're not going to take any more money.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you got to stop taking the money and build your own business and make it successful.
Mhm.
And we said it, I think twice, Rick, maybe 3 times now. And we actually mean it now. And we're very close to never having to take money again. And that's always the key to success, right? Get the money while you can, and then spend it wisely.
Yeah. You brought up a good point too about evaluating your investor, make sure they're patient, can give you some time, some guidance. How did you go about finding investors that matched like your values? Because obviously that's like a marriage, right? In a business. So like, was it hard for you to find investors that lined up with your values? You had to turn investors away that were willing to give you money. Kind of walk me through that.
That's actually a great question. When we started our company, quickly we realized we wanted to be a different type of company. And so we are what's called a public benefits corporation, where we have a double bottom line. So our investors care as much about the outcomes we produce. How many people are we educating? Are they getting employment? Are we reducing recidivism rates? As much as are we able to make money?
Awesome.
And so the kind of corporate structure that we had actually attracted a different type of investor. And Rick, we were very fortunate to get introduced to early on as this impact investing space was getting going. And I think that was key to us being able to find the right type of investors. Because once you get somebody like Rick, he'll introduce you to other people, or he'll vet other people for you that are going to be that similar type of mindset.
That's the key.
So find a Rick.
Right. Find them somehow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you guys have obviously come a very long way in, just 14 years. I mean, looking forward, what do you guys hope to get accomplished in the next few years? Just any, top line goals set out?
Well, I always have the goal of I want to put myself out of business. If I'm successful, everybody in corrections will have access to high quality programming and a pathway to real employment. So that's always my goal. Realistically, that's not going to happen over the next couple of years, but our company is growing. It's continuing to grow. And I think at some point there will be an exit for us. I don't know when, I don't know how yet. But I'm determined to be in every correctional system I can in the meantime.
Awesome. Awesome. And before we wrap up, really appreciate you obviously coming on and sharing your story. Just a few more questions. So obviously you guys have these testimonies now of this really working out in other facilities. How's the selling point going forward? How's that changed from like jurisdictions now when you're trying to step into a new correctional facility? Has that become easier? You still getting a lot of pushback, or what is that journey been like?
Our biggest challenge is actually our reputation in the marketplace is stellar. Our biggest challenge, though, is do the jurisdictions have the capital they need to invest in deploying us?
Yeah.
And so we've actually started to segment our market, which has helped us really grow our business. So we actually we have a team focused now exclusively on jails and juvenile facilities, where they've become experts in finding pockets of capital that can be that jurisdictions have to invest in our solution. And then we have a separate team that's focused on the state market, where it's a much longer sale, but a much larger sale. And there we started to invest in government relations, which has helped us find the resources and the money that jurisdictions need to invest in our solution. And once we separated that out, it actually helped us grow even faster.
Gotcha. I would think it'd be a really powerful selling point too when you're showing that, hey, we're saving you guys millions from people being, re-put into these prisons. So
that data is very useful, but we only have that data right now at the jail level.
yeah,
At the state level, we have much slower data coming out because of the nature. I mean, you're incarcerated 3 to 5 years in a state, so you need to have long-term data. But the thing that's actually really helped us is we can now track employment outcomes. And that's actually a much shorter term investment that the states are looking for. And so once you can start to say we can get people employed, it's a totally different conversation.
yeah, I gotcha. You have a really, really inspiring story. And one of my final questions. So for everyone listening to this podcast, you're like, wow, you are absolutely amazing, everything you've done and what you've built. For those people listening that are just starting out in their own companies and really just trying to make it work, what would be your just top advice that you could give them as they continue to grow?
Don't have an ego. This is not about ego. If you're trying to change the world, change the world. It doesn't matter who helps you do it or who doesn't, or if you get the credit, it doesn't matter. It matters the outcome. That's what I would say. That's how I've been here so long.
Awesome.
I only care about the outcome.
That's a great perspective. All right, Artie, well, we really appreciate you jumping on. And before you hop off, is there anything else that you would like to say? And if people want to reach out to you or your company, what's the best way for them to find you?
Well, you can always reach me at arti.finn, Finn, at Orijin, Orijin.works. You can go to our website. There's plenty of ways to contact us there. We love to partner with folks. So if you have an idea that you think can help us change corrections for good, we're interested.
Awesome. All right, guys, there you have it. Arti Finn, thank you so much for joining us today.